Hello, and welcome to another episode of my Alpha Centauri Let's Play. This is Northstar. I hope you folks are well. For those of you new to my channel, this is part of a series. Check out from the beginning of the Alpha Centauri Let's Play series. I know some of these videos are slow. I apologize for that. I am disabled, long COVID, and I have good days, good weeks, bad weeks. It relates to stuff like physical exercise. If I do even relatively modest amounts of exercise, sometimes I will get post-exertion malaise, and it's like my brain doesn't work for days. And my muscles often too, but not always. My ability to think clearly seems to become impaired before my muscles start getting impaired. Although I did once hike a mountain after a wedding that I attended, and I was feeling relatively good. I was in high spirits. I could barely get out of bed for a month after that. I don't mean just muscles hurt a little. I mean, I was so utterly exhausted, like nothing I'd ever felt before in my life, because this disease really sucks. It leaves me too ill to work, of course. But anyways, so yeah, I apologize that some of the videos are slow paced. Nonetheless, I'm here as brother-in-law of the Peacekeepers. This is Standard Alpha Centauri, not the Alien Crossfire expansion, because Windows 11, ever since a certain feature pack, breaks the Alien Crossfire expansion. There is a fix that's rolled into Thinker mod, which has unfortunately some changes to the game. I'm fond of all of them, though I'm not sure if some of them are. I hope they're all optional. If they are, I'll just disable the options I don't like and it'll be good. I know some of the settings are, but like there's changes to mind control, which I haven't tried yet, so I don't know if it's overpowering the base game, but I'm always nervous about people calling something, quote, overpowered. I think they're putting their own biases and forcing everyone to play the way they want. I think games should largely be left alone by mods unless they're total conversion mods, in which case you're creating a whole new thing, essentially almost a new game. Go ahead. But I am not fond of, especially mods. They're supposed to be mostly about like fixing the AI, map generation, bug fixes, including balance changes. I consider that a real problem. So I don't know. It's not as bad as the Erebus in the balance mod for Fall from Heaven 2. That's a Civ 4 mod. Mod. Those assholes really upended the balance. It's not as bad as the Realms Beyond quote balance mod of Alpha Centauri. Basically anything Realms Beyond did, those people are toxic. But I at least took a look at the changes, but I'm not sure how many are optional. I'd probably just disable a lot of them. Which reminds me of one of the people who's involved in that talked about he tries to make as many things. One of the people who's involved in that in the Thinker mod tries to get as much of it optional as possible, pressure it to be that way because he believes it should be a way. He's also someone who's been involved in the Morrowind code patch, which is for Elder Scrolls Morrowind, and makes a lot of bug fixes, and a lot of them are optional. If it's bug fixes less so, but there's a lot of balance changes that are optional. I like it. I play with it, and I'll at some point do Elder Scrolls Morrowind Let's Play and probably use that. Anyhow, I am here. Spartans are a threat to myself. I'm playing with tech stagnation, so it's slow. Missionaries only 2203, and I'm working on secrets of the human brain. This isn't competent players. I think this is a combination of excuse me, although I am returning to the game after quite a while. This is a combination of tech stagnation and the Spartans landing in the monsoon jungle with nutrient bonus on a river. I think they got that from a pod near their second or first, well, no, Sparta Command, near their second base. It's normally Sparta Command, then Parade Ground, I think, for the Spartans. So they've just boomed hugely. And even with the base game AI, which isn't great, they're smart enough to build lots of bases. I don't know how many they actually have, but 43 pops, 43 council votes, as opposed to my 45, because I get 2 votes per pop instead of 1 as the Peacekeepers. So Yeah, their population is almost equivalent to mine, and I have 14 bases. They probably don't have that many, but they're much bigger because the monsoon jungle really high nutrient yields, consistently high nutrient yields. I'm not sure if at librarian difficulty they're capped to 2 nutrients or not, and if the monsoon jungle gets around that cap, even if they're only capped to 2, they can do things like just build mines and not even need farms to remain at 2 nutrients on the monsoon jungle, whereas I have to find a rolling. If they do on a rolling, they get a 2-2 yield right away, and if it's on river, a 2-2-1. If sorry, I'm cocking my hands here, and of course you guys can't see it. If I were to want those same yields, I would have to find a rolling rainy tile like this and build both a farm and a mine. So that's more investment of farm returns. At least relative to just the mine. I have weather paradigm, so it probably is actually less overall or similar. The weather paradigm and human genome project I picked up and probably won't be doing any other secret projects. It may even, from a strictly optimal gameplay perspective, might even been a mistake. I would have been better off more colony pods. Now my growth is choked because I put most of my minerals into just keeping the Spartans at arm's length. Whereas if I gone ahead with expansion earlier, I could have had some of my bases continue to expand, and it's a snowball. Such a high percentage of my economy goes into my military. It's choked out most economic growth for the moment. I did want to show this. So I was designing some synth model units. This probably will get a trance ability if I can add it to a probe team. But I probably designed the units that make sense. I was doing the math. I was getting the mental trap of if something pays for itself, then it's worth doing. When there's many different investments you can make, some have very low effective return on investment, some have higher. Like I can armor my forearmors and it'll pay for itself in the long run against mine worms. But the time that it takes on average to pay back the initial investment, I calculate out it's like 50 turns, 50 years to pay back that investment in terms of needing fewer scout patrols and less support. And by then, I might be closer to having clean reactors too, which then gets around the problem of scout patrols, their support costs being the issue. But yeah, I basically put armor in the things where it makes sense. This, because it costs the same as a laser skim ship without the armor, so it's free. This, which without the armor costs 20, so it's an extra 10. But these are often going to be right at a battlefront. And these probably upgrade my scout rover to one of these, maybe. Or maybe not, but I might need a few of them to move forward and hold tiles. I can't have no defensive units, even though I strongly prefer offensive units to offense to defense. Because if I stack a bunch of units, I'm going to suffer collateral damage if I lose them. And if I don't stack, one of these might do all right versus like a Recon Rover, a Spartan one, but then it'll be damaged and it'll be finished off easily by another one. It's better to attack than defend. It's better to control the field than hole up in a base. Especially if the AI's got any clue, they can just bypass a strongly defended base, which I don't think in the base AI they are smart enough to do, but border agency is too strongly defended. They might still have some units that are going north. That they won't intentionally bypass the base, but they'll strike at both of my border bases, and trying to split my forces. It's just better to concentrate my forces and deal collateral damage to stacks while the Spartans are grouped up. And make use of, I'm going to have a lot of probe teams getting intelligence on, got 7 slow probe teams and 3 fast in production, so that I can both steal techs but also know where the Spartan stacks are by having some of these in their territory, maybe hidden in the fungus. I do not remember if probe teams are invisible. I keep forgetting if they can see it. These are very marginal. They're a little more survivable against mine worms. I need to see if I can add transability once I unlock the tech for that. They might see some use on the Believer Continent. If I set up some bases there and can maintain good enough relations with the believers, I don't expect they're going to attack bases, but they'll still probe me. I don't need, even then, it's a very marginal thing, but it doesn't really make sense to armor my formers. I could do synth metal garrisons, but offense better than defense, so I'm not even a make design. Trance synth metal garrisons, but I've been over investing in defense against mind worms. I've done the math. It only makes sense really early game where you can lose a huge percentage of your economy if you get unlucky mind worm attack, but which actually the game gives you a combat boost for the first 15 years against mind worms in the field and 50 years in bases, which is about how long you actually want to have units defend those areas. After 50 years, it's usually better, even on tech stagnation, to just spam bases, and you'll sometimes lose pops to undefended bases getting attacked by mind worms. It's similar to I was looking at the math on the perimeter defense, and it may be sometimes a more cost-effective defense than scout patrols for bases, especially places where you need more than one scout patrol to defend a base. But it is not more cost-effective than just leaving the base undefended usually. Now, if you had the Citizens Defense Force, it could be, yeah. The foils, the transport foils, there's a little more of an argument for armoring them, but they still die so easily. It's probably better to. It's cheaper than defending them in other ways, but really, my navy is just going to get owned by any isles of deep that I defend against because they're all green. So really, my best bet is just to more cheaper replace these units and try to avoid combat with the Isles of the Deep at my current tech level because I'll just get crushed. In Alien Crossfire, it's a little better because you can build Resonance 3 foils fairly early. You give them Trance, Resonance 3, and because you can pop boom earlier, mineral costs are less of an issue period, and or initial mineral costs, and you might still not defend like every base or every unit, but you might have one or two of these units running around to try and position themselves. So just still trying to attack Isles of the Deep, but if they get attacked instead, the odds are fine. Trying to do long range fire in them. So yeah, sorry, I've been talking for 12 minutes here. So let me pause this for a second while I figure out what to do next. All right, sorry, that took a second of thinking. I keep vacillating. It's probably not good between thinking if I should maintain a very high, super high level readiness with the Spartans, and maybe I can wait a little longer. There's a lot of unknowns. Heck, I may have massively overbuilt my military to be prepared for Spartan attack that was overestimating the danger from in the past, for instance. Though maybe they're more dangerous now after a longer buildup. When I could have been economically investing, I'm gonna make mistakes. I know I built too many scout patrols to defend against mind worms, and I would have been better spamming colony pods and formers and colony pods and formers to settle the eastern part of the continent. The yields just be way better than that. That's especially true with the Human Genome Project and Weather Paradigm. The Human Genome Project lets me spam more bases because it'll offset bureaucracy drones a little bit. And the Weather Paradigm lets my formers work faster, so it's cheaper to build the terraforming that pups need, as well as to eventually build up some of the bases to be specialist bases with like lots of condenser farms, which gets around inefficiency. So distant bases, you don't want to work energy directly. What energy doesn't go to waste, what energy you do produce, you probably want to be putting often into psych increasingly, so you can have larger populations. There's always ways to invest. Some people reinvest the stuff that gets around just the stupid obsession with working tiles. I hate that Civ gamers are always obsessed with that being the only way to grow and think it's the only legit way to grow your economy. Screw those people. Um, but anyways, I'm gonna do this because this is gonna probably help this move before too long. Here, after this farm, there's gonna be a mine. And here is a condenser. Um, But next turn, this form will be done. Transport move onto the tile. But yeah, there's always ways to reinvest in some of those workhorse supply crawlers, specialists. A lot of it, people became more expendable specialists as Civ games went on. Like in Civ 4, I think people started to really get more used to them, especially beyond the sword. Whereas when this game came out, and then with Civ in the Civ 3 era, people still hated specialists. Over time, people, a younger generation gamers came up. It's not the older ones changed their mind. It's just that the other people, they didn't die off exactly because they're younger, but they stopped playing games. They left the gaming community because they had kids and didn't have time or built their careers or whatever. Most of the people who played this game, I was kind of younger, but who were playing it like college age and stuff. You know, I mean, they're older than me and they're not. And I'd probably be very career focused, not gaming at all, if I hadn't developed long COVID. And I'm younger than these people. Although, let's see. Uh, So here I am. I mean, have definitely been overinvesting in mineworm defense, but it doesn't hurt to trawl for mineworms here or there. Energy is flexible for investments, and heck, I could consider a base facility somewhere. Actually, maybe I want one at headquarters. 40 on a recycling tank. What if? How is this 37 turns when they already have 6? They lose some switching from a probe team to a recycling tank. That makes no sense. Should be 34 turns on recycling tanks. It's 40 minerals. So I think like the base away is 3. Maybe it loses half when it switches, which it shouldn't when it has it's in the first row. Probably just a miscalculation. But yeah. Is there a facility I really need? Nope, not really. I need the energy for probe team actions. So, there's that. Doesn't hurt to try and get some more experienced rovers and scout patrols by hunting worms. Well, scout patrols I probably want to just eat through in numbers a little bit. The ones that don't die probably be used to explore other continents. The rovers get more experienced ones, have a smaller, better trained military to fight the Spartans. Probably have too many units because stacking penalties. Like, there's no way I can have this many rovers in combat without having to stack them a bit. And that's a real problem. Or keeping a bunch in reserve in the base, putting out only part of my force, and then replacing losses with more from the base. So, yeah, there's diminishing returns in numbers. One way to get quality is higher experience levels, and then the most experienced ones get upgrade to impact rovers. All right. Again, I'm talking too much. I apologize. Righty then. Laser squad. That's great and all, but Oh, yeah, I should definitely hurry this probe team. Yeah, I'm gonna do support from here. It's very gradual work on the laser squads. Heavily contingent on, yeah. Still, I've been thinking a little bit about what tech I'd do next. Centauri empathy would allow biology labs and green economics. So green economics may be not useful to have more bases further from HQ, and the efficiency pays off. But and the ability to train mine worms. Green economics, its main benefit would be capturing worms, probably actually, which are, by the way, support free when you keep them in Xenofungus, but you can only capture a certain number. Then you just kill them instead of capture them after that, which, I mean, planet pearls. Yeah, I'm gonna hunt for mine worms a little more. But yeah, I don't know if this is a mistake, pulling this many units away from defending stuff. I mean, I have the units. And if I don't currently need them all in the front with Sparta, I'd be better defending formers and bases than having to do nothing, although I could hunt worms outside my territory where they didn't fully spawn, and that would give me fewer better units and less support costs. So yeah. We'll defend civil rights for a turn, I guess, with this scout patrol. Or try and move into that fungus. Because this would prevent any attacks. I don't know if that can even spawn my worms, though. Maybe it can't. These definitely can, aside of the red lines. I'm positive these squares can spawn mine worms. Mine worm, mine worm. I got 3 rovers, none double stat, adjacent to this. I'll periodically try and move rovers in and out. 1-3 chance each time one would have moved in of getting a mind worm here, so energy credits training. This kind of hunting mind worms is alternative, obviously, to having built more command centers. But there's an opportunity cost to that investment. I could have built formers or colony pods out of the small amount of my budget that's not going immediately to
request confirmation.
Military stuff. Speaking of growth, I'm gonna try and do another former up here. This hasn't unloaded its mind worm yet, but there's definitely around. I should also be aware of that. Try and get scout patrols further forward. Still don't know if the rocks help against mind worms. Try and lure mind worms, and attacking scout patrols aren't stacked with formers. Assuming they're going to come this way, so. So both support by mountain command, interesting. Let's see. Probably move into that rolling moist towel before long with the former. Not going to bother with another unit here, though. Instead, I'm going to move this. Keep an eye in there. Towards the World Food Program. If I got the scout patrols, I might as well use them. 4 scout patrols while sweeping towards this mind worm. Might lose 1 or 2, but I almost certainly win in the long run. If I'm really unlucky, I'll lose a former. We'll say a bit. Turn on that forest for a condenser. Fun. Go there. Potentially go defense command next turn, and this peninsula. Lots of scout patrols that be going to the Great Northern Island or Builders Island, whichever you wish to call it. This is already moved. Righty then. Just think about hunting worms here, but I should probably head east where I know there are worms, or try moving to that. Send them here. I'd rather have rovers out east. Because I might fit in, probably start sending some formers ahead from the old food program, and then a colony pod eventually after I've got a little pre-forming done and some roads built out. Maybe some sensor arrays built. Because colonies, yeah, sensor arrays also make reduce mineworm spawns, I think. It definitely prevent mineworms from moving into a Xenofungus tile directly adjacent to the tile 1 or possibly 2 range from the sensors. So, but yes, setting some of them up, make it a little safer. When the colony pods go out, they can also, of course, see mineworms, so they'll know where they are. Bases are the most vulnerable when they're size 1, because mineworm randomly destroys either a base facility or a pop. If there's no base facilities, it's always going to be a pop. Although you can apparently abuse that, but if you start work on a base facility that's under construction could be just knocked down to 0 mineral progress instead of losing a pop. 50-50 chance. So, or at least when I tested that, that worked on the perimeter defense network, which means there's actually utility of working on a perimeter defense, not completing it. If you know you're about to get attacked by mineworms, I don't think that was intended behavior. I think what it is the in progress one gets prioritized the same way that a finished perimeter defense would. It just doesn't make much sense. You can see it's kind of muddy around Planetary Trust there. Elevation of 10 meters. I don't know yet if I can raise terrain under a base, but I should probably find out because if there's ever sea level rise, Planetary Trust will get drowned. It'd be cheaper to raise the elevation, the base, than to do a pressure dome. The whole river valley is a 10-meter elevation. You only get sea level rise if you get I think 3 fungal pops in a turn. You can get it. Exceedingly unlikely right now, with only 2% chance a turn of a fungal pop. The first 3 might be exempt. Those odds will go up as I get more tech and if I switch in the free market later. But yeah, World Health Organization will eventually get my first fungal pop and then my second. And then I have to start dealing with mineworms and having units ready to defend against that or losing a bunch of pops. You might, with the third, it starts to become worthwhile around the third fungal pop to maybe consider not doing any more eco damage. The first 2 are free. The third gives you mineworms. After the third, I think they get even bigger. So, yeah. I think because the third is like a programmed one, so I suspect it's a smaller number of mineworms are weaker. It's like hatchlings, and after that they just go. I don't know. I'll find out, I guess, eventually. I'm not going to completely avoid eco damage. Got transport here. I'm gonna load the scout patrol. Scout patrols are slower than rovers, obviously. I need to get exploring more, especially while I still can. If I switch to free market later, I'll get passivism drones from all these units outside my borders. There's still areas like here I don't know the layout of the land. I should know it, even if I might not be able to sell in there for a while. Knowledge is power. Look for leftover unipods. I'm at it that the Spartans missed, probably because it's deep in fungus. Exploring the fungus always spawns some worms anyhow. Okay, I don't need a police unit, world food program, to stay in a gold mage. Though I will need one a few turns. There's the Scout Patrol North. That's real mineral production. And that form already is in progress, so support from here. That's +2 towards the next former. Where's this? It's up to +2. Pay for self slightly sooner. Former planetary trust. It's gonna be safer. I don't want to stack them too deep near World Food Program because if my worm does attack, collateral damage. That being said, if you have a stack like 3 formers and they keep seeing my worm get attacked, fall back, you might make it away alive. If the my worm decides to attack a base instead, they get to a road network, whatever. Whereas if you have individual formers, they're gonna get attacked. Element of surprise, and none are make it out. So it's not like they're gonna win in a defensive fight unarmed formers. Very rare they do, although it can happen. It's more likely if you have, say, if you're running Fundamentalist, if you're the Spartans, if you're the Gaians. Gaians have a planet combat bonus, although they also have morale hit, which actually has a bigger impact. So yeah, if you're the Spartans, though, your formers might have a very minor chance with their extra +2 unit morale, I think it is. Let's check that. Is it 2 or 1? +2. Yeah, use knowledge, wealth, be state planned, democratic. Yeah, with the +2 morale, you actually have hardened formers. If you have a command center, you have commando level formers, which might do okay against low level mine worms. Might sometimes win, that is. I've also been thinking about the Spartans. I had been thinking I just wanted to conquer them entirely. But if they try and submit to me, you only ever get an entire game, one chance to accept that. If you refuse, they'll never offer it again. So I might want to accept it because supposedly submissives can never reject any deal you offer them. So I'm presuming, and I hope I'm right about this, you can demand bases from a submissive. Because I wouldn't want them to hold on to this area, but I could say feed them a base at the southern tip of the landmass, or maybe a sea base somewhere, and get all their land bases, and actually slowly, by building colony pods, resettle all the pops out of these bases because they're considered unassimilated pops, and there'll be happiness issues, and build new bases, sometimes even right next to it, which I might move the pops to that are built in the peacekeeper ideology. It's not ethnic cleansing because this isn't ethnicity; it's ideology. It's ideological, if anything, but it's ideology. Again, I'm not pretending all is the good guy, but this is a pragmatic and to ensure the peacekeepers eventually build a hegemony over the whole planet and unite humanity. Well before transcendence. Next game I might turn off transcendence victory condition if I do a thinker, because the AI is better and they'll actually reach the point of being able to do that transcendence much sooner. This has a hint effect of fungal pops no longer generate mine worms. While the plus one life cycle bonus isn't terrible for Voice of Planet, you often would rather have Mindworm pops and just harvest them for planet pearls by the very late game. So it's actually having Transcendence enables net negative if you don't want to actually win that way. Might try a game where it's diplomatic military victory only, representing history never really ends until it really ends. Unlike arrogant shitheads who go say the end of history in our own world. No, the end of history has not arrived. The world still turns. Things change. God, now I'm thinking if any of you ever played Rome to War back in the day, the Greek intro, the world still turns. What was may come again. All this. It's the Greek cities. Well, actually, any of the Greek factions. Seleucid, Greek city-states, and Macedon, and remastered. They all use this little speech about bring back Alexander's empire, which is nationalist nonsense, if anything. But I thought maybe you could say it to have a higher purpose than just national. Maybe the idea that humanity should be united, which is a higher ideal than just glorifying a nation. But yeah, things are changing. I think socialism will probably come back at some point because the U.S. has had its chance after, the end of the Cold War to prove, capitalism didn't reach its highest form because of competition with the Soviets, and now without all this military spending, we can reap peace dividends and show what's really capable of. Instead, we just create this world where Jeff Bezos is growing to own the world, and Elon Musk is doing Nazi salutes, and have pretty much proven that this is not a good future, and it's not the best humanity can do. And so eventually people will decide since better fates are possible than this, they're going to try and strive for them. It's only a matter of time. There's things that are slowly changing stuff. China is doing its Belt and Road Initiative. Oh yeah, when I do a Thinker mod, Alien Crossfire, I'm definitely replacing Yang with the free drones. I'm probably playing as the free drones because Yang is just a freaking bullshit caricature of communism. Not even really. It's not even communist. It's just a freaking despot and a xenophobic plague, whatever. Not plague. I don't even know what racist bullshit term is, but he's just a freaking racist caricature of how people in the 90s were already representing at least right wingers, Chinese people, and communism. It's bullshit. It's not communism what Yang has. And it's not an ideology Diaz that would have ever attracted any people. And the free drones, that's socialism. That's Marxism. That would be something that you could unite people behind, that people would want. Hold on a sec. Sorry, some nonsense. I have no idea. What the heck is... There's so much noise pollution. All these loud machines, from loud lawn work to noise pollution. And of course, everything is driven by, gasoline. Nobody ever does electric stuff, which is both quieter and, better for the environment. You would think with the planet dying, people would be a little more willing to, work towards a greener future, but no, can't have that. These damn loud ass vehicles. Like I said, everything powered by burning oil. Really need to crush the oil industry. I mean, this is not have been under capitalism, and as long as we're producing oil, it'll be consumed somewhere on the planet. If oil is produced, it will be consumed, um, and destroy the planet. We need to honestly tax these companies in oblivion or nationalize them and force them to slowly step down their production to zero, because it's not happening under free market, and it will destroy the planet. So some needs, even if you think capitalism and free market is the best fate, the best way to organize humanity, and I think that's a bunch of bullshit. The idea it is, but even if you believe that, some things have to come before that, like the survival of the species. So, and we are headed towards a crisis. It threatens to wipe out mankind with climate change. That's not even an exaggeration. It is that bad of a situation we're in. Won't happen all at once, and it's not just climate change that will do it. Probably ahead of a climate crisis that will kill billions, but there will still be billions who survive. With how many people are on the planet, we might lose maybe half the Earth's population to mass famines. But then there's pollution. There will be increasing risk of nuclear disasters, because you'll have like widespread anarchy and unrest, which can make it much harder to safely operate nuclear power plants. Plus, they're being built more and more places. You will probably have nuclear war, fighting over things like diminishing freshwater resources and agricultural land. And on top of this, we already have a demographic crisis where more and more countries have below replacement birth rates, which will mean, and is probably a serious thing that we will not be able to easily solve, even if we didn't have climate change or eventually a lot of radiation pollution on the planet, which we don't have yet, but we will, with almost certainly nuclear wars that will emerge. And so radiation will, of course, end up leading to higher rates of birth defects, fewer fertile individuals, accumulation of quote forever toxins. All these things are going to add up to a demographic crisis that's going to be severe. Kind of think like Handmaid's Tale, where people are just not having live babies often enough, and it won't be as severe as in that piece of fiction. That's an exaggeration of trends, but there will be a demographic crisis, and it will just continue and continue as long as we have capitalism, likely, until either capitalism is replaced or the population shrinks so much relative to the size of the world economy that wages go up enough that people can have decent enough standards of living that they're willing to have kids again, which will probably be at a fraction of the population we have now, especially because to a certain degree, when population declines, economies can contract. Usually not by as much as the population declines, but enough to make it hard to shrink your population down to a sustainable level of wages. So, all of this is to say, get that scout patrol here so I can free up some of these rovers to go exploring. Veteran units are less likely to actually gain experience, so I'm keeping this more in reserve. To hit mine worms that might come out of the fungus here towards what I'm going for, which is these mineral resources, which will, for what it's worth, I've thought about it. I'm probably going to build a borehole there. Need the minerals. Definitely need the minerals. And alluvial counts with the recycling tanks and the nutrient resources should have a very high rate of population growth, or at least high enough. You know, there are limiting factors in population growth like drones. So that the loss of nutrients from a borehole isn't going to do too, versus say a farm mine is not going to do too much to, I mean, might eventually at certain points due to overpopulation have maybe a little less total output, but for a long time it'll be higher. And yeah, I'm just going to roll with that. But a third borehole is almost certainly the right move. Yeah, because there's one here, World Health Organization, which I'm working. This base probably won't really grow for quite a while. I only want to turn by tomorrow because you get a famine before it grows. Whatever. It's fine for now. If a forest does grow into this condenser, I'll definitely work that into the borehole, but otherwise, yeah. Kind of reached the ecological limit for that base, so it's cool. But I do. Yeah, I still have eco damage even there. So I'm probably 2 minerals over the clean mineral cap, I'm guessing. Which means I'll eventually get 2 fungal pops, and the third isn't free, so yeah, I'm fine with the slower rate of growth. Unless, you know, the condenser gets a force, then building more up starts to become really worthwhile. Or if I get a farm mine to the southwest, or a condenser, I just haven't had the form returns to spare for either of those yet. Condenser here to support the mine here, so it's nice and rainy. This server can send monitoring agency it needs to repair. No collateral damage in bases, so it's protected by the veteran rover. Rovers don't withdraw from bases, so it's not like the other one would disengage. Where's this one can repair up at the monolith? So I'm considering infiltrating small groups of rovers into Spartan territory. The Spartans would be pissed, obviously, but I don't think they'll declare war as long as I agree to remove them every time they get spotted. This will allow me to get a little better sense of what's ahead even before I risk probe teams. Which, there's 2 things. If they do a mission, they fail, they die, even at peace. But if at peace a unit moves on their tile, I think they're invisible, but even if they're not, they're not. They just get kicked back to my HQ as long as I'm at peace. With the Spartans in a war, they just get instantly killed without a fight or anything. They only actually enter combat against other probe teams and mine worms. Hence the frontier probe teams not being super useful. A little more resistant to artillery, able to defend themselves better against mine worms, and that's it. In a multiplayer game, bombarding probe teams to weaken them before probe team combat is a good strategy, but I don't think the AI is smart enough, at least not without the Thinker mod, to do that. And it's obviously something you only do at war. The way artillery works is every unit in a stack fights 1 round of combat against the artillery, with no ability to do damage back to the artillery piece, so very powerful against large stacks of units. Also good for bombarding bases. Those are the 2 main uses of artillery, although if you have a really stagnant front where the enemy cannot advance, you can always stick artillery behind the line and bombard their units, even if they're not stacked up. Like if you had a line of bunkers with infantry just Could be rovers in the bunkers too, I guess, but infantry you can get higher attack or defense value for the same cost. So, you had a bunch of armored infantry sitting in bunkers, or maybe even some with weapons for counterattacks, but along a front and nothing was moving. You could have line of artillery in the bunkers or a tile behind just bombarding enemies. Might as well be in the bunkers since there's no collateral damage at that point, actually. But there's a few scenarios where stuff like that. So yeah, maybe I'll send this over around here. The Spartans demand a tribute. I'm going to tell them no. I'm getting not so worried about provoking them. As I get closer to their power level, well, their score ranking, I'm ahead of them pop, and I think I've been overestimating them a little. Plus, now they have the tech for armored foils, and I think I'll do fine. I have an island I can set up colonies on that's apparently unoccupied. There's a lot of stuff to do. Yeah, let's definitely hurry this command center. I need it for unit healing. And it should add veterancy to the probe teams, I think. Yes, I've just had enough Spartans nonsense and had more than enough of putting all my expenditure into military and not being able to economically boom like I want to do. It's not actually, I'm not talking about pop booming. I'm talking about just building bases like chicken pox over the continent. I'm not even referring to so-called infinite sea sprawl. I'm not talking about lots of bases cramped together. I'm talking about taking all this territory, bases that are fairly spread out near resources and key locations, and making use of all this land that's unoccupied, settling it, getting to work terraforming it. I mean, this is a big continent once they push the Spartans off of it. It should give me a huge amount of economic power, even if stuff like bureaucracy drones will put some diminishing returns on expansion. I should still be able to build a mammoth economy. There's always ways to grow up, like supply crawlers, specialists, using colony pods to actually exceed hab complex limits. Some people consider that a exploit. You can think what you want. There's some things that everyone differs on what is and isn't. I think, for instance, upgrading supply cars before to spam is obviously an exploit. Not going to do that. On the other hand, spending 30, right? Because it's 30 minerals on one extra pop cap that if you some reason lose the pop, such as due to famine, you're not getting it back without another 30 minerals. That's not an exploit. That's balanced, just because it doesn't seem like the way the game is supposed to work. I mean, there's not supposed to, just because it doesn't seem at first glance with people's assumptions of what the game is, how it's supposed to work. I think this is a fairly sandbox game, and there's a lot of things that players, they just don't understand something, or even if the game wasn't designed that way, I think it's realistic and fair. You can always build taller buildings. It just becomes really expensive, and due to overcrowding, if I'm going expanding base limits that way, I'm probably most of the additional pops are just doctors who are just consuming food and producing nothing but psych just to offset drone riots. So it's not very cost effective unless I have probably a hologram theater, a research hospital, which I don't even have the tech for yet, maybe even a tree farm all in one base. Probably actually wouldn't use it to exceed non-hab complex limits, but to exceed my pop cap of, I think, it's normally 14, and let me double check my own faction profile. It says complex limit by 2. Yeah. To exceed the population limit of 16 with a hab complex to get to like 19 pops. That's a magic number because 19, no, sorry, 21, 17. So to get to 17, which is a magic number because everything where you take multiple 4 and add 1, that you get another talent. So at 1, 5, 9, 13, 17, you get talents. So to get to size 17 or 21 in some of my bases, that would just be super special centers and would need supply cars bringing nutrients to even feed all the people. And probably a few extra have a little nutrient surplus to try and provide some cushion against famines. Do something like that. It's incredibly expensive and probably represents massive investment in really tall buildings and maybe even digging space underground, which you might not have people live underground. It's not great, but you might move more of like bases, warehousing and storage underground and infrastructure, so there's more space above ground for people to live. Smaller, more carefully designed apartments, just a bigger base overall. I mean, really, a tile is probably a massive geographic area in this game. I do think it's possible to actually have people sometimes live underground, the poorest of the poor, and that would be like drone conditions. That would not be a nice way to live. But even in our own world today, we could have people live like I've lived in basement apartments with that are virtually underground. Well, a basement apartment, and it's not great. Although the rent was crazy high in that place because it was a nice neighborhood. But it's not much of a stretch from tiny windows that are near the top of the ceiling to no windows at all. I think you could have people live 2 or 3 or 4 levels underground without too much issue. And then put storage and infrastructure and subways even lower. Subways so you don't need as many roads on the surface. Expensive as hell. But if you want to cram in more people, it should be possible. Try not to stack these units in case of ram mineworm attacks, but I probably make some incursions into Spartan territory very soon. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Just dip into their territory here. Saw a little more of it, and then back out. Right. I doubt the Spartans attack me. They hate me so much, I think they're already at minimum opinion of me. So if they were going to attack me, they probably would have done it already. They probably deterred because they're not that much higher than me in power ranking. That is might ranking, I should say.
Indigenous life.
Ooh. Nice. Mindworm boil. I have a green rover here. It's going to go. Yeah, I'll use this one first. Using one from Forest Agency because that base is really hurting for minerals. Really hurting for minerals. So I definitely would not mind having one less unit support if it came down to it. Unfortunately, I got neither. Well, I got no experience, but at least I won. The odds were only 60% of victory, so that's good. Um, I'll take that. uh, try again. There we go. This green rover should get disciplined. And the mine worms are less developed. I could risk green combat, but it's a balance between fighting lower discipline levels and having the units gain experience more often from combat versus, losing more units. I don't just want to throw them away, so I'm willing to have my rovers fight at discipline level where they have 60% odds of victory, but I'm not sure about fighting at green where the odds are close to 50-50. It's probably either worth it and neither or worth it or both, but oh well. That was a fail. Keep out service this area. So I'll probably do a move down towards bunker 118 through the fungus where I'm hidden. Try and find where the fungus begins and ends, so it's easier for my probe team to choose a good route to infiltrate that base. And if the Spartans get annoyed enough to declare war, I'm almost tempted to say that's a good thing. I don't mind. Heal up. Little rover, heal up. Oh, I had no moves left. Whoops. But yeah, really inexperienced rovers die a lot if they fight. Really experienced ones aren't going to gain morale levels anyway. So there's a sweet spot for fighting. Probably disciplined and hardened. Maybe. Maybe not. That veteran rover will definitely disengage if it gets attacked by mine worms. I think they always disengage, but certainly the ones that will fight more rounds of combat average so they die have very low chance of, because they can only disengage once they reach 50% damage. But I don't know if there's some way they can shoot from that point where they're eligible to dying before they can disengage. Maybe there's a chance of that. Do not know. Hmm. Or stacking rovers prevents withdrawal. Uh, So at this point, instead of this pointless milling around, damage rovers obviously need to fall back and heal, but gonna try and send teams like 2 or 3 each into the fungus and explore in Spartan territory. Of course, just every turn there are fungus, there's always chance some ram Spartan scout will find them. There's more of them, there's more chances to move into fungus and not get bounced, and then the rest can go behind. So I think I'll make it deeper into the territory before getting spotted with a slightly larger team than just one. Of course, if I get tapped by mine worms, it could be bad, but oh well. This is still a probe team to be done before long. Yeah, I'll go gather that up. It's just a cost to hurry. 19 energy. Maybe next turn. It'll be probably 16 for 7 minerals, so an extra 2 versus 2 energy mineral. And the transport will move into the base tile, rush the probe team, and that the transport to, or I could wait 2 turns. Although, could rush it, have it load in, and have this go back south. No hurry. It's going to take a lot of energy, probably, to do all the different things I need to do with the Spartans. I'd like to pre-scout a little where the fungus is and such. See if I spot Spartan units on patrol. Give me a better idea of the danger space in the probe team, or at least the delays while I'm at peace. Not really actually a danger. Still have all these rovers that recently upgraded. At this point, since I've stopped producing more, that should peter out. Meaning rover here is for exploring, patrolling for mine worms, and dealing with these. 2 Recon Rovers in production. 2? I only see. Oh, Alluvial Council's 1. Right. Yep, so my furthest base is east. We'll do a rover, and then I stop. With 40 Recon Rovers, a Scout Rover, and 2 Unit Rovers. Cool. 20 Scout Patrols. Yeah, this is an overlarge military. At least the probe teams won't choke my economy. With support, they still are an alternative to things that actually pay for themselves, like formers and colony pods, but...
Turn complete.
Right. So let's see. Things that are going to be swapping off. Alluvial Council in 2 turns. Monitoring Agency in 1. Why is it doing that? It should get headquarters growing. Probably to prioritize minerals while I don't know. Oh wait, I've got the 3 more turns of not having a condenser, and then my nutrient production goes up, shoots up to 7 surplus with these tiles. I have 20 to go. Okay, I can work that. One more tile, well, one more turn, and then I need to switch headquarters to the solar panel. Yep. If I'm lucky, this will get overgrown. I can work that instead of the stupid solar panels. Let's see, other nutrient stuff. It's always nutrients and the fact that you can't get overflow with like this base is using 20 nutrients a turn. Only 2 would be useful right now, for instance. That's always what gets me is the waste of nutrients in terms of microing stuff. Creates diminishing returns and go really high. Nutrient output. Monitoring agency is going to swap next turn. So monitoring agency and the headquarters look like the 2 things that need a little revisiting soon. One mineral or 3 econ. Considering nutrients to go to waste. Yeah, I'll run a technician world food program for a turn or a couple turns. That's smart. Even so, there's still some wasted nutrients. Probably missed. They should have ran that technician sooner. Oh well. Shit happens. So alluvial monitoring HQ are the ones that need to keep an eye on. Let's go on your defense command. Oh, condensers. Condensers, gore. Given rounding. In theory, I should do this. For +1 con. Oh, just one more turn. Right. Case weird stuff like famines that can always happen. Or if this gets overgrown, I'm down to 1 nutrient turn. So defense command I also need to keep an eye on. There's no reason not to word that. Headquarters alluvial monitoring and defense. Okay, those are the 4 bases to immediately. Let's end this. Oh, jeez, it's about an hour and 21 minutes. I guess I can end the turn and then end the video. Let's see what happens. Forest expands. Hive's about to finish the command note nexus. Probe team complete. Oh shit.
Production complete. Production complete.
I just realized I can save in case I'm wrong about this so it doesn't hurt. But I don't think I am.
Turn complete.
Yeah, I rushed this and you can only have 10 minerals overflow. Whoops. Let's do that. A nutrient and the same amount of energy. The minerals are just going to waste. Or 3 nutrients. 1 energy. Yes, please. And 10 mineral overflow. Instead of the borehole for a turn. So less eco damage.
Production complete. Production complete. Production
Really? It's not going to give me the forest growth again? Gah. You know what? Maybe there's other things I'm missing. I will
Turn complete.
take a look at all of this later. Yeah, let's at least do that. Actually, I'll lock that in. So wish you folks the best. Apologize if some of my random thoughts, musings, political agitating annoys some of you. I wish you folks all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind yourselves. May you always find a guy and start leading home. Adieu.